Okay, everyone, welcome back for game 3. In case you somehow missed it, I moved the spirit intro for this game to a separate video because I couldn't bookmark it. So we're just going to launch right in. Apparently I have a game in progress. Who cares? My statistics are already totally messed up by test games. Okay, so this time, as noted, we're going with the balanced map. This is supposed to be the sort of historical or flavor accurate version of the island. The downside of this map in paper is that I find it really hard to tell where some of the borders are. Luckily, the various display options in the Steam game make this a little bit easier. As mentioned, this time we're playing with Shadows Flicker Like Flame and River Surges in Sunlight, which are the two remaining spirits that are rated at low complexity by the game. Again, I didn't start with them because I don't necessarily agree that they're the best for beginners. The brief overview of the situation is I think River Surges in Sunlight is great. I think Shadows Flicker Like Flame is mostly bad. I'm glad to get a game with Shadows out of the way at relatively lower difficulty because I don't want to deal with it at higher difficulty, though I may end up doing it trying to challenge myself. The thematic map, they say, is more difficult than the balanced map. I think this is broadly true. My experience has been that it's mostly more swingy. You can see, right, like this board is just this giant swath of wetland right through the middle here. And this one has a big central bit of jungle. They also, unlike the balanced map, the flavor map has not all lands start adjacent to a settlement. So if you look at the combination of these two maps, which again, I wish we could do this. I wish we could do this in more easily. Look at the overall layout and setup. None of the mountain regions, with the single exception of, wait, is that even part of this region? See, this map is really hard to read in various ways. I'm not even sure that counts as part of this region. Well, it wouldn't matter. They'd have a border anyway. Of all the mountain regions, only this one, number 7 on this board, starts out adjacent to a settlement, which means if they flip Mountain Explorer on turn 1, they get 1 Explorer. Now, they've sort of made up for that by having Explorers start on a couple of them, but only a couple. So, but meanwhile, they explore into every sands if they flip sands. They explore into every jungle if they flip jungle, more like the normal. And some of those start with explorers too. So the variance is much higher. Our Dahan also sort of start more sort of together, so it can be harder to move them around. Anyway, it is probably overall harder, but one thing to remember about it is that it also it makes the early explore cards much more relevant. It sort of varies too depending on which parts of the island you pick to have show up. I believe West and East are the ones that are supposed to be played in a 2-player game. That's my recollection, which is why I picked those. Okay. In any case, it thinks this is difficulty 3. That's another reason I slotted it in right now. It's a little bit harder than the one we played last time, but not a lot. Now, you can see here, okay, so we got a Wetlands Explorer. I would consider that to be moderately bad as explorers go for this one. We still end up with 1 wetland that's empty. This one here, maybe 2 actually. I think these are 2 separate lands. Anyway, you can see this is the 3D classic version of the map, which is supposed to look the most like how it looks on the tabletop. And I think you can probably understand my confusion trying to play it on the tabletop here. Like we can see from wetlands in this area, but it's very hard for me to figure out, like, which wetland is this explorer in. I guess it's in 4, because it looks like sort of the border's there. I find that very hard to sort out. Similarly, these 3 mountain regions here, right? There's 7, 10, and 8 are all involved here. I would not, if I had the numbers turned off, I would not have parsed this as 3 different regions. Luckily, we have this 2D classic setting available, which I find makes it vastly more readable. These black lines are better, especially this board border line. These I find much better than the other ones, and weirdly enough, I sort of don't love rolling all of these things together. I like seeing the figures a little more, so for future videos, I will probably go back to the 3D Classic unless people strongly prefer this one, which would be fine. But in terms of reading the flavor map, this is way better than trying to do it on the tabletop, which I like a lot. Okay, let's get into the gameplay. What we've got going on here is we've got builds happening in wetlands. This is another weird thing that can happen with the flavor map. We have something like a normal number of wetlands on this map, but they're all on River Surges and Sunlight's side. This is intentional, by the way. I started River Surges and Sunlight on the board with a lot of wetlands because the special ability wants a lot of wetlands, etc., etc. Not that it would matter all that much. If River Surges and Sunlight started on this board, it would start here, and I'd still go down this river. I'd just do it starting there. But then we'd have a problem where all of our strength would be concentrated over on this board early, and it would take a long time to get over into here, which can already be a problem. This is a really remote land from anyone starting because it's sealed off by these other sands, etc., etc. So that means on the board for Shadows Flicker Like Flame, we only have one problem land to begin with, which is basically ideal because Shadows Flicker Like Flame is not very capable of dealing with more than 1 or 2 explorers in the early game. That means we can certainly do this easy range 3 growth. I'm inclined to put it here. Hold on. Except, right, that's the other problem. This power is great, but it needs to be targeted from a double stack, and unlike River Surges and Sunlight, we don't get easy double stacks anywhere. That said, we can still put this here for better coverage because we can target off of this one in order to get this guy into somewhere we want it. Probably we'll just pull it into here, or maybe we'll team it up into there because there's already an explorer there, so it's not clear what bad would happen by consolidating. Anyway, that means that in order to solve our one problem this turn, we just want to use this ability. That just means we want to play Mantle of Dread because the other option is playing Crops Wither and Fade, and I never want to do that ever if at all possible. And doesn't make any sense to do this because it's basically a defense card, so we do Favors Called Due, and then we'll be able to use this to respond to potential problems in the future. This is about as good as Shadows Flicker Like Flame gets for initial turns, although that said, I'm being a little hard on the poor thing because we're playing Mantle of Dread anyway, and Mantle of Dread would allow us to pretty trivially deal with a second Explore, with a second build if we felt like it. As it is, we'll be able to use it to deal with an Explorer, assuming they explore into either jungle or sands, and the only other option is that they might explore into mountains. And if they explore into mountains, we're pretty happy just because we miss a bunch of explorers because of the way the remoteness of them works. Okay, so then let's look at River Surges. River Surges, something would have to be going incredibly weird for me not to double grow River Surges on turn 1. I actually think this is such a straightforwardly obvious first option that it's kind of weirdly... I mean, I guess it's a low complexity spirit, so it's fine. I think it's more interesting when you sort of think about how you're going to grow on turn 1, but you just almost never need a power card on turn 1. Maybe at some of the really high difficulties, you're in so much trouble to begin with that you just need to get a power card. But unless the power card's great, you make your turn much weaker than it would be otherwise because you're either down in energy, so you can't play like Flash Floods, or you can't play Flash Floods if you need to, or you're down a card play, which is just ludicrous because then you don't even get to do this. Anyway, the question is whether we want to play here or whether we want to go down here. Because the initial Explore left Shadow's Flicker like Flame pretty much covering the whole board, I think we want to start moving down this river valley towards our own coasts. Once we get one here, everywhere on the map is within one of our place of power except this place. So probably the next one goes here, and then we just have coverage on everything. In terms of where we can stop explorers, it's a little bit awkward because the wetlands here are already quite built up. So there aren't really any places that have just... In fact, there are no places where we got an explorer where it's alone. This is one of the weird things about the flavor map. You can have... This is the best early explorer for this board, right? Because you get nothing to deal with, but it leaves river under a lot of comparative pressure because it means we're going to get ravaged on turn 2 in this land, which is sort of a disaster. It's already got a ton of stuff in it, and it's got some Dahan in it that are going to potentially die, although we could just evac them with River's Bounty. And it's already got a Blight, so if we get Blighted here on turn 2, it's going to Blight Cascade. There's an open question as to how much we really ultimately care about that. The Blight Cascade wouldn't really do that much harm. This mountain is probably pretty safe in the short term. But the good news is, too, is we're River Flashes in Sunlight, which surges in Sunlight, which means we get a lot of options to deal with a lot of this stuff anyway. Flash Floods is the standout, although Wash Away is probably just as good, because what you generally want to do with Flash Floods is prevent a build. Unfortunately, our double Explorer slot isn't coastal, so we can't get both Explorers, and taking this out won't prevent the build. So Wash Away is probably better. We could wash away everything here. It's up to 3 total villages and Explorers, so we could just wash everything out of here in the post, and then be fine. Well, be fine is another word, but we could at least be fine here with Wash Away, and then we are definitely going to unlock Massive Flooding. Although, geez. So, the problem here is we're not going to be able to be okay without help in more than one spot of these 3. We could use Wash Away here. We could use Flash Floods, and then we could use Wash Away here, but then we don't have a very good target for Massive Flooding, though we can use that to clean up an Explorer. Yeah, we can use that to clean up Explorer no matter where they explore, because if they explore into jungle, we can clean up the one that shows up here, and if they explore anywhere else, we can get it on our own board. So that's one, and then if we did that, we have another card play for River's Bounty. We pull these guys into here. We have one giant Dahan stack, which we maybe don't actually want, but we don't get these Dahan pointlessly killed in a death struggle, and we get Massive Flooding for value. The other question is whether we could possibly, like, what if we Flash Floods this thing away, and then if we Flash Floods this thing out, then they rebuild it, then we Massive Flooding this thing out, then we're left with a situation here where we can dig for a defense card, and most defense cards would prevent us. The advantage of that is that we don't get blighted. We don't get a Blight Cascade, which is nice. I mean, if we lose both of these things, I think we're losing this thing no matter what. They're going to build a city there. It's going to suck. I think we're losing this no matter what. The advantage of potentially fighting here is that we avoid a Blight Cascade. The disadvantage is we lose 2 Dahan here and a Presence, which, we can get 3 Blight and just hope to never get any more. I guess the other option is we could get a little bit of... we could also get a little bit of help, though, from Mantle of Dread. Mantle of Dread targeting River Surges in Sunlight. They build there, we push those 2 out. That's appealing. So that makes me more likely to want to play with this setup and blast here. And if we do that, probably we play Boon of Vigor instead of River's Bounty, because it's not clear to me where we want to gather Dahan with River's Bounty in that scenario. We want to keep them here. We already have them here and here, and we want to keep them here, and we can't gather more in here and wouldn't want to. So the downside of this play, and it is a significant downside, is that it's committing us to using probably Power Card Presence next turn rather than Double Growth, which means we don't get anything more from either of our tracks, right? In order to get more from the track, we'd have to Double Grow on the next turn. And it is putting a lot of weight on that power card. We only need 3 defense, which is pretty easy to get from 1 power card. But if we don't, we lose Dahan here, and it's sort of broadly, like, we lose these Dahan, we get the Blight Cascade, we flash flooded this and don't really get much to see for it, and it's pretty much a disaster. We're far enough ahead here that we're suffering the effects of almost all the stuff that started on the board all on 1 turn on the next Ravage, which means we're left feeling like we're struggling, but also means that it'll be a while before this comes up again, and until it does, there's really not a whole lot left that can go wrong. There isn't even a city that started on this board, although there are 2 villages here, so like if jungle happens next, that would be sort of broadly bad. But this plan gets us a lot more long-term benefit, but it's not clear to me that we need it. On the other hand, it's also not clear to me that we're sort of wasting Mantle of the Dread if we just shift some dumb explorer with it on this board. Yeah, it's close. I think this is a really close one, but I think we're probably better off. I think we're probably better off just accepting that we got an initial explore that means we're going to take a lot of early damage. We can save these Dahan here. That leaves us with the ability to use Flash Floods to respond next turn. It leaves us with the ability to use this to clean up some stuff for next turn, which means we'll probably have an easy turn 3. An easy turn 3 is broadly... Well, turn 3 being hard is often okay because that's your first reclaim turn. But it also gives us, in some sense, an easy turn 2, easy in the sense that we just gave up on it. And an easy turn 2 is nice because we can get up to 3 card plays with River, which means it can have a very powerful turn 3. Or we can get up to 3 energy with River. But this reclaim 1 is good enough. I'd probably get up to 3 card plays. 3 card plays means it gets a very powerful turn 3 when it reclaims everything, and then can use turn 4 to unlock this and probably not have to reclaim again for quite a while. That's enough more powerful that I think I'm going to go with this one and hope it doesn't bite me too much. We'll hope we don't get hit. Like, if our first 2 is Wetlands, this is going to be bad. But we're going to accept that. Okay, so we want to prevent this build with Darkness Swallows the Unwary. I think we want to gather it into here because, as noted, there's already an Explorer there, so adding a second one does less bad. We get some horrible builds. They explore into jungles. That was broadly the worst of them, I would say. We would have been happier with mountains. But it's not the end of the world. This is coastal, which is nice, which means if we Flash Floods there next turn, we'll be at both Explorers. It's the only jungle on this board. We don't need to use favors. We don't need to use Mantle of Dread on River Surges like Sunlight here, and in fact don't want to. And so that means that we can use it instead to get this guy, I guess. It's sort of... This is actually sort of awkward for other reasons, which is to say the second Explorer here makes it so that we can't prevent a build here with Mantle of Dread. Oh, no, because we'll get this. We'll trigger this next turn. So we can get one of these with Mantle of Dread. Yeah, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to wash away here. That's going to get these guys. I'm almost tempted. The all-in play is to just push them into here on the grounds that this is already going to be a disaster, but I think we're just going to put them into... Oh, wait, hold on. No, because if we push them into here, we unlock further explorers. I actually think we're going to put them into one of these dire wetlands and just be like, we need something that just blanks it. But I think we'll put it into the least dire of the two so that we don't end up with... Because if this gets a second Blight Cascade, it's going to really suck. Whereas the first Blight Cascade here wouldn't be as bad. This also leaves us without a lot to do with Favors Called Due, but that's sort of okay. I guess we could get a lot of Dahan into here, which will be nice if we can Concealing Shadows there next turn. I guess, the other question is, we're going to Concealing Shadows here next turn anyway, which means the Dahan will at least kill some stuff. That's nice. That means we don't need to use River's Bounty to pull these Dahan out. I wish I'd realized that. If I'd realized that in advance, we could have played Boon of Vigor this turn to give 2 more energy to Shadowless Flicker like Flame, although we're going to use this grow option next turn anyway because we're going to pay 1 to target here with Concealing Shadows. So, yeah. So and this is the longer range presence one anyway. That's right. Yeah, we just always want to use this one because this one sucks. Anyway, so we're going to Favors Called Due into here because we want to be able to use Concealing Shadows here. Getting triple blighted on turn 1 is not a combo with Concealing Shadows, in case you're wondering. Because Concealing Shadows gets you blighted. We're definitely going to go into Blighted Island in this game, and it is what it is. But, and we're going to do it quickly. Maybe that means I should have tried to make an issue of it here. Because even if we'd failed to make the full issue of it here, we could have bailed ourselves out with Concealing Shadows. I don't know. You can tell I'm not super used to playing this guy. I wasn't thinking about Concealing Shadows in that turn 1, which was definitely a mistake. Anyway, let's leave 1 there. If we leave 1 there, then that'll be enough to beat the village there with a minor defense card. That seems fine. We'll get some fear for outnumbering the invaders there. We're going to Mantle of Dread our... Oh, right. We're not going to fight here at all. Does that mean I wanted to take the Dahan out of here? Nah, I don't think so. We're going to Mantle of Dread ourselves. We're going to push here. We're going to push this guy into here. And then we're going to use this next turn to get the other one there. Then we're going to Massive Flooding here. Push this guy into here because he'll die in the Ravage. Sounds like a good idea. And then we'll do River's Bounty here, somewhere to just gain an energy and a Dahan. This looks like the most centrally located, so this is a sensible place to do it. I don't think it's worth gathering this guy in because we don't need it. There we go. Okay. So this is the easiest presence gain energy of all time. It does result in us playing Crops Wither and Fade, which feels bad, but that's life for you. We need to get a double stack here, or else we won't be able to target our... Oh, wait. We don't even need a double stack here because we need to be able to target the land we're gathering this into, and we're just going to gather it into here where it will presumably die. We're doing 10 damage here for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So we're just going to gather it into here. We can target this land from this land. That's what I was saying about the gather targeting being much more forgiving than the push targeting. Since you have to target the destination, we can get explorers out of anywhere within 2 of this, assuming that we don't care about gathering them closer. So that means with our presence gain, we can sort of expand into this board. Let's go to here. That gives us some good coverage without, or here. Here's probably better. We're going to be defending it aggressively anyway. We've already got some Dahan here, and we've already got a presence there, so we'll put it there. I guess we could also think about whether there's somewhere we're going to want to be able to target this. See, this is the problem with this. You don't want to put presence to allow you to target this because you're targeting things in locations where you're probably going to be in trouble. So probably if we decide we want to target something with this, we're just going to have to pay an extra energy for it, which sucks, but what can you do? I guess the other option is to put it here. The downside of that is that they're 50% to explore into sands, and then we've got it in a contested area, but it would make that ravage easier. It delays projecting force over here, sort of, but we're mostly going to target things over here using our ability. Yeah, I think I like that a little bit more. That'll let us at least get whatever small amount of value we're allowed to out of Crops Wither and Fade. I guess we should think a little bit harder about whether we're going to unlock the energy or the card play. What are the odds we're going to be able to play a third card on our reclaim turn with no energy income? We're going to spend 2 energy this turn because we're going to have to spend 1 to long target this, but we'll get 2 energy back. So we're going to be at 3 energy going into the 3 card play turn. That seems fine. That seems fine. Okay, so then over here... Oh, I guess we aren't... Let's not commit to that yet, just because... Are we going to... The question is... No, we're definitely going to double grow here. That was a lot of what... Being able to double grow here was what was a lot of the point of taking that play. We're going to grow into our 3rd card play. We need to get 1 here we can use to target flash floods. And we might as well take this opportunity to get 1 here because that's the only place we can get a place of power without immediately losing it to a Death Ravage. Okay. And then we play these 2 cards because Flash Floods is useful, and this one is free and useful to our friend. And then we play these 2 cards because these are cards we can play, and we need this. And this is as good as it gets. This is going to be an interesting early game compared to our previous ones. You can see that in this game, at least, this is definitely a higher difficulty situation. Based on the flavor map. There's nowhere as dangerous as land 3 on this board on the balanced maps until you get very high on the adversary danger rating. That said, if we'd had a Mountain Explorer or probably a Sands Explorer might have been rough, but if we'd had a Mountain Explorer on turn 1, this would have been incredibly easy because the mountains are just empty. Yeah. Not that I'm complaining. I'm just as happy with having some interesting stuff happen. Speaking of interesting things, rip. We're definitely going to cascade Blight into here. If we cascaded into here, we'd lose our presence. If we cascaded into here, we'd get another cascade. We do, however, thanks to the quote-unquote power of Concealing Shadows, which this is why I was saying Concealing Shadows is genuinely a very powerful card. You know, we were so far behind here that nothing else in any starter deck was going to make this anything other than a completely unmitigated disaster. This at least saved the Dahan here to fight in the future, and it's going to reduce the invader presence here pretty significantly. And we were able to target it from just nowhere nearby. So, a good showing for Concealed Shadows. I think I'm going to take out this and this. Normally I like taking out 2 villages, but the advantage of taking out this is that the villages, we can potentially shift them around with River Surges and Sunlight much more easily, or clean them up with Flash Floods or things like that. We got a jungle build there. The good news is we just got 1 build. Now we get sands. We had, of course, no mountains in the initial deck, which is by far the hardest setup for this map, right? Like, mountains are the best situation for us possible. Okay, so we're ravaging in jungles next turn. We could massive flooding someone. This is an obvious choice because we put it into there. Unfortunately, we don't have range. This is an obvious choice because, well, no, not really. I mean, like, the only place we can target is this. So we're going to target this. We could safely move it to here. We can't move it into anywhere that's going to get ravaged next turn, which is too bad. Or anywhere that we're going to win the ravage. I mean, there's going to be a ravage here, but we won't have any Dahan. And I don't think there aren't even any adjacent Dahan, so chances of getting them in there are pretty low. So let's just push it into one of our strongholds because we'll probably have to worry about at least there. Crops Wither and Fade. This is the worst case scenario because now we're at risk of losing this presence. Losing presence is better for Shadows Flicker like Flame than it is for anyone else because you so often can just target using Shadows of the Dahan, but I still hate having it happen. But there's certainly no reason to target anywhere except here. That at least makes it less likely. Yup. Hopefully our 2 Explore will be mountains and we'll get a bit of a breather. You know, I say a bit of a breather, but of course we only have 1 Ravage this turn, and it's problematic in the sense that it's a huge Ravage, but it's not problematic in the sense that we're going to avoid, like we already know what we want to do about it unless we get something better, which is to say we're going to use Concealing Shadows and we're going to kill everything here. We're going to go into Blighted Island on turn 3, which sucks, and especially sucks both of the Blighted Island options in the base game. One of the reasons I don't love going into Blighted Island is both of the Blighted Island options in the base game can cause you to lose presence, which means if we can't get better bailouts for this situation here, Shadows Flicker like Flame is going to be under incredible presence pressure, especially because it has no way to grow twice. Now, there are majors we could get that could bail us out of that, but I'm a little bit worried that this might actually be a game where we're in danger of a presence loss because of the effects of Blighted Island. And we're pretty much committed to not avoiding Blighted Island, to going into Blighted Island here. This is a 10-point Invader Province. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, this is a 10-point Invader Province where we have no presence. The number of cards in the game that could bail us out there is low. It's not 0. It's especially not 0 if we end up taking a major with River Surges in Sunlight, which is possible, but unlikely. There is a minor. There's Quicken the Earth's Struggle, I think it's called. There's a minor that's a 10-point defense that you can only play in a place of power, but of course with Shadows Flicker like Flame's special rule, we could target this even though it's not a place of power. If Shadow Flickers like Flame gets that minor exactly, then I think we take this game in a walk. Otherwise, it's awkward. We're definitely reclaiming with both. We can't afford not to. We're definitely taking a minor with Shadows Flicker like Flame, so let's take a look. Are we gigantically lucky? We are not. Okay. We didn't deserve to be, so it's not like I'm not complaining. Unfortunately, we're sort of moderately unlucky because several of these cards are good and useful, but none of them have Moon on them, and we have Moon Fire, or let alone have Moon at all, let alone Moon Fire. And we really want cards that have Moon or Moon Fire. That said, Nature's Resilience is Defend 6. Defend 6 will be enough to save us here. We were worried about here. I think this is a pretty easy Nature's Resilience pick. Defend 6 here is only 3 short of what we need, and this is in range of targeting by River Surges in Sunlight, so it's possible we could get a 2-card bailout here. We are much more likely to get a card that represents roughly 3 defense by taking a minor than by taking a major, so I'm going to take a minor and hope we get there. We do have a place of power adjacent to it, so there's a lot of targeting restrictions that wouldn't stop us from hitting that. I think there's actually a reasonable chance we could not go into Blighted Island here. Let's see what happens. Each Dahan deals 1 damage to a different invader. 2 fear, push up to 2. Oh, this adds a blight, unfortunately. This would do it, but it adds a blight. There are 5 Dahan here. Each Dahan doing 1 damage to a different invader would kill these 3. That would get this down to a 7-point province, and this is defend 6. So, that would bail us out. I think we just got to do it. This is the other subtle problem with Shadows Flicker Like Flame, side note, is that it wants cards with fire and moon symbols on it, and many of them are cards like this. This card is just... yeesh. Once you get into Blighted Island, adding a blight is not so bad, although... to get that if it, you have a lot of blight to give once you get into Blighted Island, but this just leads to blight cascades so quickly, and all it does is push a lot. It's bad. Anyway, I'm going to take Veil of the Night's Hunt. This will prevent us from getting the 2/3 version because the elements on Veil of the Night's Hunt are bad for us. Obviously, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so we're going to play Veil of the Night's Hunt here. We're going to play Nature's Resilience here. Nature's Resilience here, worth noting, effectively costs 2 because we need to pay the extra 1 to target it. Oh no, never mind. It's within 1 of a place of power, and the place of power is there. So, okay. So that's fine. So we don't have to overpay for any of that. This is big. This is big. Being able to save this without having to use Concealing Shadows on it makes a big difference to our future viability. In terms of surviving Blighted Island if we get there, but also it delays Blighted Island by at least a turn, which is obviously very important. I think, the odds of getting 2 minor powers that add up to at least 9 defense, given that our targeting solutions on this are actually pretty good, it was pretty high. I think our odds were better than I was giving it, better than I was anticipating, but still nice. The downside here is that it looks to me like River Surges and Sunlight can do actual nothing to address the sand situation next turn. We already cleared out this one, but we're too far away from everything. We just don't have any kind of targeting on anything else. And I think Flash Floods, sadly, is 1 short of saving us here, right? We have to kill all 3 of these, which means we need to use Veil of the Night's Hunt. I guess we could use Veil of the Night's Hunt has 2 extra damage, so if we used Veil of the Night's Hunt with Flash Fires, we'd also take this out. Does that let us not play Nature's Resilience there? No, right? Yeah, no. So that doesn't really make any difference. We're definitely going to play Favors Called Due this turn. We're definitely going to play Mantle of Dread this turn because we'd like to get... We desperately need to get this because that'll let us save a Ravage here, which we don't want to have to try to defend. It's sort of awkward because the only place we can pull it is into here, which won't... But probably the difference between defending 3 and 4 there, if it comes up, is not a lot. Yeah, I wish we could get any help from River. This means we're probably going to go into Blighted Island next turn, but saving a turn is going to make a difference, and of course things could change next turn. We're also going to have to spend... We're going to be in trouble again next turn because just getting what we need to this turn is going to cost almost all of our energy, which means if we reclaim, we won't be able to play Nature's Resilience here, which we'd like to do. It would cost 2 energy to play Nature's Resilience here. Okay, but we can sort of help out with... We can sort of... Actually, we can do a fair bit of helping out by just playing Boon of Vigor over here. Boon of Vigor over here will let us help indirectly, even though most of the problem areas are out of range. We can at least save some trouble with this, so that's good. And actually, Mantle of Dread is going to take care of this. Okay.
Okay, this is going to be fine. Mantle of Dread will push these guys into here, which is like sort of meaninglessly. It's sort of a meaningless side grade in some ways, but it at least means we don't have to worry about losing our presence. That's not even good though, because we're going to accomplish the same thing with this. So I think Mantle of Dread, we're going to see if they explore into. They could even explore into Sands again, which would be potentially bad. So Mantle of Dread we're gonna use to respond to the Explorer. The question is, do we want Favors Called Due? We can afford it. We definitely want Favors Called Due because we'll pull some of these guys into here and then we'll get to take people out when we fight there. Okay, that's good. So then the question is, what do we want to do with our third card play for River? My sort of inherent, my all things being equal play is River's Bounty because it'll net us a mana. It could be that Wash Away is better because it'll give us more ability to respond to the Explorer. And there's really nowhere they could explore where it wouldn't save us a build. That seems like it's got to be worth it. Okay. So our plan is to... Oh, do we not have range? Darn it, we got to go back and reconsider. We don't have range to target. Can we target this? No, Darkness Swallows the Unwary really doesn't help us at all here because everything's too far away from it. Son of a... Oh, we can prevent this. We can prevent this, and then we can prevent this with Mantle of Dread. Okay, that's not so bad. And we can even pull this guy out to where he'll die in the Ravage. Okay, never mind. Then we Nature's Resilience here. We Veil the Knight's Hunt here. Each Dahan deals 1 damage. 1, 2, 3, 1. Yeah, because they have to be different. Okay. We give 3 energy to our friend. That's it for the fasts. Each player removes an explorer or village from a land with a place of power. That is basically a useless fear card effect. It cleans up a single explorer that we didn't care about and someone who was going to die in the Ravage. Yeah, fine. Okay, that was great. This is awkward. And Jungle Explorer. I'm not sure how good or bad that is. I mean, Mountain obviously is what we want and isn't coming up, but Wetland was going to be bad. Jungles are under control, so that's got to be pretty good. So we know we're going to Favors Called Due into here. I would like to bring 4 because we get the bonus Fear then, and we might as well get the bonus Fear. We're going to Mantle of Dread ourselves, and we're going to push these into here, which I do not enjoy, but is still an improvement. Then we've got a Wash Away and a Massive Flooding. Wash Away can target this. Massive Flooding can target this. We're going to defend 6 here, which will be overkill defense. So let's Massive Flooding this thing into here, and that'll take care of that. And then Wash Away this thing into here. Yeah, that seems fine. We're still, I suppose, we're reclaiming with Shadows. We have to reclaim with Shadows because we need having to reclaim 2 turns in a row with the character. Side note: having to reclaim 2 turns in a row with the character that has the worst reclaimability in the game feels very bad. Especially when we're about to go into Blighted Island and would just love to get presence onto the board. The other option is we could gain a power card out of presence and hope the power card we gain bails us out here or here. It bails us out here, but we need we need 4 defense here to bail us out, which is hard. Veil the Knight's Hunt wouldn't do it there. We're not otherwise going to reclaim, I think, with River, because none of these cards are particularly exciting. Yeah, I think we've got a reclaim gain, and then what we're going to hope is that the card we gain bails us out here. Now, it's going to cost 2 to play Nature's Resilience here, which sucks, but We're obviously going for a miner because we have no energy. Sap the Strength of Multitudes is defend 5, but it's range 0 unless we play an air card. But it costs nothing, and we have a couple of air cards. So, yeah, this will save us from Blighted Island again. Okay, well, good enough. Good enough. It has crappy enough elements that we're not going to get these. I guess we should... I can't imagine anything we're going to do is better than saving us from Blighted Island, and there isn't even anything there that has a moon on it, which is what we need to be able to trigger our thing. So yeah, actually pretty easy. In terms of our air options, it's Mantle of Dread or Favors Called Due, both of which are fine. So we're going to sap here, and we're going to resilience here for 2 mana. That's going to leave us with 1, so we can play either of these. We could also get back... We're going to unlock the Reclaim 1 with the river, so we could reclaim Boon of Vigor, which is sadly probably what we're going to do because our energy economy is so dire on Shadow's Flicker like Flame. Look, just side note, look at how much this single card from River is just bailing out poor Shadows here. Like, if we didn't know this card was around, we probably wouldn't be able to play 3 cards this turn, 3 cards, because we'd have to have unlocked this, but we'd still only be on 1 energy income per turn. It's so difficult to get over the hump with Shadow's Flicker like Flame. You have to basically get 4 growths in before you're functional on a reclaim turn, and you can't possibly grow more than 1 on your own. There are a lot of spirits that can help you out with that. You know, the Magic of Friendship is incredibly useful in this game, and no one for as more as Shadow's Flicker like Flame, but without that, you're talking about turn 5 before you really get everything you want, and your reclaim turn is awful because either you don't have enough energy or you don't have enough card plays. Because with 2 growths, you can't... I mean, you can have 2 card plays and some energy, and you can have banked some up maybe, but oof, it's really rough. Anyway, luckily we have River helping us out. We probably are going to power card in Presence with River. I generally like the double grow more, but if we get a power card, that might mean we don't have to reclaim next turn either. Our energy's in good enough shape we could gain a major, and this is a turn where we could weave in a major because we don't have a whole lot we have to do ourselves. You know, we can prevent a build here by flash flooding if we feel like it, which is fine, but we can also drag whatever we build out of there. Like, we've sort of got stuff handled for this turn and next turn at this point, right? They're going to build in jungles this turn, except they're going to do literally no builds unless we let them. So we're in sort of good shape, which feels to me like what I want to do is get a major with River this turn and use it to start trying to clean up this stuff, which is really the only place... Well, I mean, we're not going to kill things here, but we're really only going to have 3 lands left on the map that are going to be a problem. So it feels like this is a good time to try to weave in a major. I think I'm going to grow to here. I have plenty of things that are good targeted with 1. It takes advantage of the fact that we're growing 2, and we know we're defending there and clearing it out this turn. So that seems pretty good. I'm going to get a major because I'm going to have 5 energy this turn, and I don't need to play Flash Floods particularly, so we'll definitely be able to do something with it. I'll probably end up replacing Wash Away. The only downside of getting major here is that all of my miners are pretty good, although... You know, moving Dahan at fast is pretty nice, and this can cut out Explorers, but it's not super impressive, and its elements are bad for me, so I could see replacing Veil the Night's Hunt too. Let's take a look at what we get. Mists of Oblivion. It'd be hard for us to kick. Winds of Rust and Atrophy is sort of a classic, just like this is a good defense card. It doesn't do what I really wanted to do this turn, which is start clearing up some of this nonsense. The land Thrash's in Furious Pain is sort of weirdly compelling. 2 damage per blight in the target land, 1 per blight in adjacent lands. If I target this, which is the place I'm sort of most concerned about, I guess this I'm also concerned about. Maybe more concerned about this because I don't have Dahan there and there's more stuff. But if I targeted that here, that would do 6 damage, which would just kill everything. Kill everything is a phrase that I enjoy when applied to my enemies. We can't play Land Thrashes and Furious Pain and also play Flash Floods this turn. So, or Mists of Oblivion plus Flash Floods, which are sort of the obvious things to do. Mists plus Flash Floods here, for example, would clean up a lot of stuff. It would kill... Mists would kill all these guys, which is nice. And then if we teamed it up with Flash Floods, we could get these things, which is nice. I sort of like Mists on the grounds that we could maybe do something good with it next turn. And next turn's going to be pretty easy too, because we know we're getting no builds and no ravages. That would prevent me from playing 3 cards. No, I could just play the other... I could just play the non-Mists cards this turn and plan to reclaim next turn, because I get the free reclaim 1. Yeah, okay. Let's go with Mists. Well, let's just do our due diligence. I didn't think at all about Dissolve the Bonds of Kinship because it's complicated. So if we played it here, it would replace this with an Explorer, with 2 Explorers, replace this with one of these with 1 Explorer. It would leave us with 6 Explorers here, which we would have to push all over the place in weird fashion. And 1 village here that we could then clean up with Flash Floods, but yeah, I think I'm probably happier just planning to do a ridiculous Mists of Oblivion play there next turn. Even if they build, the Mists of Oblivion play is still going to do a lot of damage there. Mists of Oblivion also has a water on it, which means we can probably... We'll definitely get back Boon of Vigor because we want to help out Poor Shadows. We can probably... Since Mists has a water on it, it's well positioned for us to team it up with this. Obviously, if we deal 2 damage with this before doing 1 damage to everything on the spot, then we can really get a lot of kills and a lot of fear and stuff, and that's going to be good. That means this turn we're going to play everything that isn't Mists. I guess? I mean, if we're reclaiming next turn, we could just plan to play Mists anyway. Then, no, because Boon of Vigor only gives us 1 energy if we target ourselves. We aren't going to be growing next turn. We're just not going to be able to play Mists next turn if we play it this turn. If we play Flash Floods this turn, we actually won't be able to play both Flash Floods and Mists next turn. So I think actually we just tolerate that we're only going to play... but if we play all this turn, we get this turn? We'd rather have this next turn, though, right? Oh, wait, we gain 1 energy when we do our reclaim because we're not freaking Shadows Flicker like Flame, who has the worst reclaim growth in the game. So, if we do our reclaim next turn, we'll have 6 energy, which is, in fact, Mists of Oblivion plus Flash Floods plus, say, Boon of Vigor or whatever, which will, once again, get us... Yep, Flash Floods, Boon of Vigor, River's Bounty, Mists, that's 3-2. Yeah, okay, no, we're great. Everything is great. River is great. Okay. Over here, we know we need to play these 2, and then we need to play one of these 2 to get the air to allow us to target at range 1 with this. We're not going to fight anywhere next turn, which means Favor's Called Due isn't going to be very good, whereas Mantle of Dread will get us some fear, and it'll also maybe get us, if they explore into sands, it'll save us from a build, or if they explore into wetlands, we can target river with it, and that'll save us from a build. So yeah, this seems fine. Okay. Sap here. Nature's Resilience here at a cost of +1, but luckily Boon of Vigor sort of bails us out. We don't need to Flash Floods here because... We don't need to Flash Floods here because we can actually just use Massive Flooding here to do the 2 damage. I guess we'll Flash Floods here. If we Flash Floods here this turn, then our combo next turn will clear this out unless they explore and build there. And even if they do, we'll mostly do it. And it's just going to be, yeah, it's always going to be better. Each player may push one explorer into a land with more... I guess we've got 4 Dahan here, so we're going to kill everything. We have 2, 3, 4, 5 attack versus 6 defense. We might as well push this explorer into here because it'll just die and that'll prevent that build. You don't care about this. We don't care about this. I mean, I guess there's no reason not to push this explorer into here because 1 damage to all invaders will just kill it when we do that. Yep. Explore into sands. Okay, well, that's fine. That leaves our Mantle of Dread able to do something. It means that we will have to come up with something to do about this faster than we would otherwise, but it also gives us the opportunity to clear this out faster than we would otherwise. If we just pull these 4 Dahan into here, we can probably do it. Yeah, I would say that was a good explore for us, all things considered. Oh, I did the math wrong and this guy didn't die. Oh, no. That's the new one. Yeah. Okay. I don't think... We're definitely doing this. I don't think it really matters which of these 2 builds we prevent. We might as well prevent this one because if we decide we get Ravaged here, then we get... No, hold on. How does the targeting work for... Well, we can't target either of them with Massive Flooding, but we can target this one, so we'll do that. Oh, that just killed it. Right, that's how Massive Flooding works. That's kind of a waste. Huh. It's kind of a waste. Because if we just pushed it into there... then we'd get to kill it for free. Maybe I want to just kill both explorers here. Or like kill the explorer here. No, I don't. I'm overthinking it. We're in really good shape anyway. What do we do about River's Bounty? Maybe we just add an extra Dahan here. Huh. You know, hold on. If we're adding an extra Dahan here, I think we are going to add an extra Dahan here. If we add an extra Dahan here, we'll be able to move 4 into here and still have 1 here to beat up these guys, which means when we use Mantle of Dread, we want to push this guy, and then we don't have to worry about this land. And, yeah. Okay. Oh, I could even gather this guy in and then... Yeah, sure. More the merrier. Our Dahan are urbanizing. Nice. Okay, and then Massive Flooding, we're just going to cut this guy out because I don't want to think about it. And I don't think there's anything better to do. Okay. So, we know what we're doing here. Oh, where did we get an extra... Oh, right. We also got an extra energy from River's Bounty. River has so much nice ways to just gain chip energy. This is such a sweet... This is such a sweet... sweet spirit. You try your best. Okay, let's reclaim and gain. Do we want... I mean, we can't afford to play another major this turn. We probably aren't going to play whatever we get this turn anyway, but we also have a bunch of... Our powers are great, so there's no reason to get another major. Let's get a minor. Quicken the Earth's struggles. See, this is the card. I did it in the wrong order, because... Are we going to reclaim here? Actually, we're not going to reclaim here. Hey, we don't have to reclaim here. Yay! That means we get to play this. That's awesome. This is the card that Shadows Flicker Like Flame wants more than any other, right? It has a really obnoxious targeting restriction that Shadows Flicker Like Flame can generally ignore. Makes both of the good elements. It's awesome. It does 10 damage and it does defend 10 and for some reason has some alternate mode too in case you want it. This card is just great. That said, we want Sun Water ones for... The only one we might possibly use here is a Sun Water one because we're into triggering these powers. We'll take Reaching Grasp. It could save some energy on this at some point. Maybe it'll come up. Probably it'll just get replaced with a major. But this turn, we're definitely playing this. We're definitely playing this. This is going to combo up. I've got to kind of carefully... Oh, maybe I wanted to... Whatever. I've got to kind of carefully set it up so that I want to use it to spread damage out so that things get left at 1 health, because we're going to miss massive flooding. Flash floods is just going to kill everything here. It's going to be nice. Probably the right thing to do with the flash floods is... it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. So these we're certainly playing here, and then we're going to play any of the sun water ones, which is anything except wash away, in order to unlock the higher level of massive flooding, and that's just going to kill everything here, and it's going to be great. In terms of what else we want to do with our time, we want to gather some Dahan into here so that we can get a fight here next turn. We want to get a place of power probably here, because that will make us start having to pay less to target these areas. We definitely want to get presence and energy. We definitely want to start unlocking our actual passive energy gain. We're going to put this here. That means next turn we can target Nature's Resilience into this place, which Nature's Resilience alone won't be enough, but we don't want to have to overpay for it. We also might... it could be that at that point it'll be late enough in the game that we're okay with just defending it with Concealing Shadows, because we might not care about going into Blighted Island. I'd have liked to have gotten some way to get some Blight off the island, so that we could start using this more aggressively without worrying about getting blighted, but that's okay. We're not going to use this turn, but we're going to reclaim next turn anyway, and it's worth a fear, so we might as well. We definitely want this. Let's be honest, we never want to play this, but it will turn on our passive power, which we could use to prevent a build here if we want. Though we can defend here for free and we can't get all the Dahan out of it, so maybe we don't want, but we could. And it'll make some fear, and yeah. We could pay 1 to target this place with it. Or we could not pay 1. We could get Reaching Grasped, and then we could target this place with it, but that's not better, right? Right. That's not better than just getting Boon of Vigor played on us again. We're going to Boon of Vigor again. We'll either Boon of Vigor ourselves for low value if it looks like that'll let us do nonsense again next turn, or we'll Boon of Vigor this guy and hope to get some really massive major power that just lets us pump a ton of energy into damage. I think this game is probably almost over, because we're going to clear this out. We're going to be set up to clear this out. That leaves only this as anything that's even vaguely problematic. We're making a lot of fear. We're technically at terror level 1, but we're 1 fear away from only having to get rid of buildings. And at that point, we're not going to win this turn, but we're going to be very close. I guess... We're going to be very close, because we could actually massive flooding here to kill one of these and push the other one into here, but that wouldn't be any better. Oh, wait. Oh, this is going to be nice. So 2 damage and push up to 3. So we can do 1 damage to each of these, push them both into here where they'll both get cleared up by Mists of Oblivion. That will mean that one of the villages there won't die, but reducing both of these together to 1 village between them is just going to be chef kiss emoji. Okay. Oh, no. Sadly, Wash Away would be even better, because it would let us get all of those things into there without having to use massive flooding on this spot. It doesn't make any difference. Yeah, no. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. In any case, the elements don't work out for it. Okay. This only lets us gather... Yeah, okay. All right. So we get to play the Does This Do Anything at All game. I think we actively want them to build here. We don't actively want them to build here. No, we don't. We don't. There's no reason not to do this. It's totally free. Concealing Shadows we'll use to get that random fear. Maybe that's sort of strangely bad, because now we're going to get this fear card this turn. It doesn't matter. We're going to use Flash Floods here. We're going to use it to put 2 damage on this thing so it gets taken out by our eventual power. Give ourselves some energy here. Defend 6 in all coastal lands. Invaders do not build in coastal lands this turn. I believe that does actual nothing. I mean, granted, it does actual nothing because we're in such good shape, but whatever. Coastal lands explore. I think we should be able to win in this Ravage. Maybe not. Maybe we won't be able to get quite enough Dahan over here. It's going to be real close. It's going to be real close. So we're going to Favors Called Due into here. We're going to get as many Dahan in as we can, which is 4. There's no point in Crops Wither and Fading anywhere except here, so we'll do that. I don't think it matters which of those we choose to do. Then we Massive Flooding here. Deal 1 to this, 1 to this. We push everything into here. We get a bonus of killing this guy, which is nice. We Mists of Oblivion here, and this is the greatest Mists of Oblivion I've ever seen. Look at that. Look at that. That was absurd. I love that. Okay. So, in terms of winning the game this turn, yeah, we just do it. Because we don't have enough Dahan here to kill everything. 6, but we have enough to kill all the buildings. And then if we just reclaim, we don't even have to reclaim all our cards. If we just reclaim Flash Floods here, Flash Floods will deal 2 damage to this thing. That's the last building. Done and done. Good job, team. Okay, let's do it. I don't think... Yeah, I'm just going to spread our presence to all the wetlands so that we can declare victory. Bring back Flash Floods, play some other stuff to turn on this thing in case somehow it comes up. Over here, we have to reclaim and gain. Let's see if we get a Sweet Major so that we don't have to... Currently, I guess what we're doing is playing Concealing Shadows there, which is sort of sad because we go into Blighted Island as we win, and it'd be more fun not to, so let's see if we get a sweet one. Vigor of the Breaking Dawn. In terms of sweet ones, this is high on the list. 8 damage in this land. It's a lot of damage. That will do it. Let's do that. Let's remove Crops Wither and Fade from our deck because it's my least favorite card in the entire game ever. Vigor of the Breaking Dawn will deal 8 damage here, which will kill everything that matters. We'll also play Nature's Resilience there so that we win the Theoretical Ravage. We'll play this so that we can move some Dahan around. Good talk. Yep. Okay. So Flash Floods takes out that thing. Vigor of the Breaking Dawn takes out all of these buildings. And... what? Oh, and some Explorers. We win the game. Yep. Done and done. Okay. So, as you can see, that is the historical map. That one, I would say, deserved its level 3 reputation. We didn't get a single mountain explorer when mountains would obviously have been the easiest thing for us to deal with them exploring into. But again, I'm not complaining. We handled it pretty handily. It was a fun and interesting game. We got to see the strength of River Surges in Sunlight, who will definitely be back. We got to see some strengths and some weaknesses of Shadows Flicker Like Flame, who will probably grudgingly be back at some point. I'd sort of like to bring back Shadows with either the other fear-focused spirit just to see if that team can do well, or maybe with Spread of Rampant Green so that the poor creature can benefit from getting actual growth. But you can definitely see both what's sort of cool about it, but also what's kind of problematic about it. We once again managed to avoid Blighted Island by the skin of our teeth, so we didn't get to see the Blighted Island card, but it's definitely coming. We'll do at least difficulty 3 run next time against one of the remaining colonial powers. It is, of course, you can combine any of the difficulty increasing things that you want. right? So we could in theory do the the balanced map, the unbalanced map with Brandenburg Prussia level 4 and Rituals of Terror, and it would be difficulty 13, and I don't believe I've ever done anything as high as difficulty 13. But again, you can team it all up, so depending on how long the series goes and when I stop being able to win anymore, we may see the historical map, the what's it called, the thematic map, back again. Again, if you're watching and enjoying, let me know if you have particular dedication to seeing it or not seeing it, and I'll definitely take that into account. But thank you for watching. That will be all for this video. See you next time.